What's going on, nation? Today I'm going to show you guys one tip to instantly increase your strength on every single lift. And it has to do with your core. Now you may not know this, but all of your strength is going to originate here. And your core is basically your entire torso from front to back. If you don't have proper control over your core, you're going to find yourself being unstable on a lot of lifts, especially as you start to lift heavy. Now, a lot of people ask me if I like to use a belt. And believe it or not, I have a belt. And it's a pretty damn good one too. It even has my name embroidered on it. It was a gift from BSM. And I gotta be honest, guys, I've probably used this belt maybe twice, and then I just stopped using it because at the end of the day, I'm not a power lifter. I'm lifting pretty heavy weight, but I'm not lifting enough to where I'm gonna need a belt, and I'm not power lifting so often that I need to really save my lower back. And at the end of the day too, I kind of believe that if you start to use things like belts, you're actually going to get a little weaker because you're not using your internal belt, which is actually the basis for this video. But I'm going to show you guys how to utilize this method to increase your strength, even if you are wearing a belt. So basically, you need to have control over your core, specifically your transverse abdominis. And you guys have seen my video called the stomach vacuum. If you haven't seen it, I'll show it over here so you can get a more in-depth look at how to perform the movement. But what this exercise does is it helps to work your transverse abdominis. And what that's going to do is give you a lot more control over your abdominal area. And also, aside from doing lower back exercises and abdominal exercises and oblique exercises, you're going to build this area to be nice and strong. But the stomach vacuum is basically where you're able to breathe all the air out of your system and suck in your stomach really good. So it gives you really good control over your core. Now, how to apply this method of bringing your stomach in, squeezing and flexing to your exercises to give you more strength is as follows. Now, I'm going to show you guys a bunch of different exercises and how this works. But basically what you're doing is you're taking in a breath. And this kind of goes against what I've said a lot in my earlier videos back in 2009. I always told you guys to breathe out as you exert the force. So anytime you're doing any pressing or bicep curling, I say breathe out as you do the exercise. And that's fine if you're lifting with light weight. But as you start to lift heavier, as soon as you breathe the air out of your system, it's like your body just starts to bend in half. In order to contract your core, to give yourself more strength during your movements, a more solid structure to work with, you take in a breath, not a full breath. You'll figure out what's best for you as far as how much air to take in, but you take in this breath, you fill your diaphragm, then at the same time, you hold your breath and flex and squeeze your abs as hard as you can. So this area becomes a solid rock. So basically, from your knee, because you're going to squeeze your glutes on some exercises too, but from your knees to your shoulders, you're one solid piece. And what that does is it takes out of the equation you having to really stabilize your body as you're trying to lift and move weights if you're doing stand-up movements. So over here, we're going to start off with the overhead press. And so basically what I'm telling you is it's okay to hold your breath as you're performing the movements. You can even hold your breath on 2 or 3 reps if you can handle it. Just make sure you monitor yourself and you're not going to pass out. Some people can hold the breath longer, some have to rest pause a little more. So the overhead press, what I like to do is get in, get the bar, and before I pick it up, I'm going to take in a breath and squeeze my core. And what I'll do is if I have to breathe during the movement is I'll wait till the weight is above my head, and then I'll breathe out here, and then I'll take in a breath and then squeeze my abs, keep everything nice and tight, and perform 1 rep. Now reset my breath again. Just like that. Now typically as I start to lift with really heavy weight, I'll take more pauses in between my reps because I'm trying to get all my strength. Because as soon as you bring this bar down and you start to breathe out, what's going to happen is now your body, instead of being stiff and straight like this, as you bring the bar down and you're breathing your air out, you start to cave forward like that. So now you have to fight the bar from falling forward, and on top of that, build your energy to press the bar back up over your head. Now we're going to show you guys how to relate this to squats. And this will really help clear things up as far as your core, failing out on you. So it's going to get into position with a high bar squat. And now, like I said, if you can hold your breath on multiple reps, that's okay. And if it's lightweight, you don't really have to focus on keeping your core as tight and you're just repping out, that's okay too. But as you start to go pretty heavy, you're gonna have to really pay attention to your breath and keeping things tight. So with the squat, chest up, go down, take in a breath at the top of the movement. Everything's tight, squeeze. Breathe out. Breathe in again at the top. Squeeze everything. Now I want you guys to see what happens basically if you start to breathe out as you press through the movement. So I'm going to take in my breath, but I'm going to breathe out at the bottom. See how you instantly roll forward like this? So now I'm going to not only have to push the weight up, but I'm going to have to fight my body from curling over forward. That's why you take in the breath and you hold it to keep your core nice and tight. Now I want to show you guys how to do this when you're benching. Now if you haven't seen my video on proper form for the bench, you can check it out over here, because the form I'm going to use is going to have an arch in the back, and it's okay as long as you're properly packing your shoulders, which is bringing them back like this, because you're bringing the bar over your chest here, okay? Now with this movement, you know, the bench press, believe it or not, starts from your feet. You get a nice firm stance with your feet, you get your nice arch in your back, you squeeze your glutes as hard as you can, and then if you're not tight from here to here, all that work you're doing down below to build a solid structure starts to fail, because it stops here. So you want to keep your core nice and tight by taking in a breath and using the same thing I just taught you in the last two exercises. So when you're going to bench, get in position, lift up the bar, and now when you're at the top of the movement, you gotta take in a breath and squeeze everything. Take in a breath. And like I said, if you can do multiple reps on one breath, that's okay. And you guys can probably see my core going up and down as I take in a breath and as I breathe it out. So I'm going to take in a breath and breathe out. Everything deflates. Now you can apply this to any exercise that you do, even curls. Now when you're doing barbell curls, especially as you start to use heavier weight, this becomes important too, because why? Well, when you do a curl, you're supposed to keep your elbows in front of your hips. So as you bring that bar down, if this isn't nice and tight, you start to do one of these. My cousin Kyle does that all the time. It's like he's gonna, and when I spot him, he's gonna headbutt me and break my nose, because he goes like this. Won't get into that. Anyways, what I usually do is as he starts to go down, I put my hand on his forehead. It's kind of funny. He's learned from them, but. So on the barbell curls, same thing. Take in a breath at the bottom and hold everything nice and tight until you get back down to the bottom, or you can pause at the top and reset if you have to. See, so by holding that breath, everything's nice and tight, I have a nice solid structure to work with, I can focus on putting all my energy into my arms to do the lift. Now, if you're getting tired because you're fatiguing, the weight's heavy, you can go to the top of the movement and reset here. And I'll show you what my cousin Kyle does. And he falls over like that. And you'll see that a lot, especially if it starts to get heavy. If you're up here and you're fatiguing and you keep that breath, even if you're tired and your forearms are on fire and your biceps are dead, you can still keep a solid structure and stay straight. Now the last exercise, which I have a lot of in-depth videos on the deadlift, and I'll post a link to an article over here. And this article actually has about 7 videos that go with it. It's really in-depth. It goes over how to perform the deadlift perfectly. But yeah, the deadlift, you're pulling the weight up off the ground. You better make sure that core is tight or you're gonna get hurt. In fact, most people can't perform a deadlift properly because they don't know how to utilize this method of breathing. And what happens is, as they bring the weight up, this is what happens. They get here, they're like, yeah, I'm gonna lift this weight real good. And then as soon as they start to press, boom, right to here. Why does that happen? Well, maybe a few reasons. Maybe it's too heavy, maybe they don't know proper form, or maybe their core is so weak because they're not holding the breath in there and keeping the air in, squeezing everything, so nothing's stopping the core from breaking and curling. So, same thing with the deadlift. Now, some people, I mean, there's a few different ways you can do this. Some people like to put their hands over their head and go like this and take a real deep breath and go, and then get down here. For me personally, if I do that, I'll pass right out, like I'll hit the floor. It's way too much breath in for me to hold. So what I do is I get in my position like this, and then I'll push my legs back, just kind of open up my body a bit, and I'll take in my breath here, and then I'll get into position. And then what I'll do is I'll reset my breath at the top of the movement, and then reset my breath again at the top. So I'm not breathing out at the bottom, I'm always breathing out the top and resetting my air. And once again, if you can do a few reps on one breath, that's okay. And now, I told you guys I would show you how to utilize this method if you're using a belt. Now, most people, when they use a belt, they use it wrong. And I'll tell you why. When you put on a weight belt, the goal is for the belt to keep everything together. So if you're just chilling, walking in the gym, and you want to put on your belt, and you put it on like how you put on your pants, you're going to hurt yourself. And this is what most people do. Oh, okay, that's nice and tight. And then they put it on, and then they go lift. And as they walk, things like bouncing everywhere. That belt should not move. If anything, even if you're a little bit obese, that extra belly fat should be hanging over the belt. You want that thing tight. Trick that you can do. A lot of people do this, is you can have a friend yank on this as hardcore as they can, and as they're yanking on it, you want to suck in your gut. Use that stomach vacuum method that I taught you guys. Or what you can do is you can try to get across something like this. Now watch carefully. Grab on the outside. Sweetie, come right over here and watch right here. So you're going to stand against something really tight like this pole, wrap it around, and then you're going to crush it on yourself like that. Come on, there you go. I'm gonna have a hard time getting that off. You guys are lucky I like you. Alright. So now, you see that belt? It's pretty tight. It ain't going anywhere. So what's the point of the belt? The point of the belt is to help you keep your core solid. So now, what are you gonna do? Say you're gonna deadlift. And this applies to every lift. When you approach the bar, you're going to do all the same stuff, except now you have a belt on. And what you're going to do is take in that breath, and as you flex, you should be pushing your core out into the belt. So it's creating a zero gap between your body and the belt, and everything's nice and tight. So I'm going to get down right here, taking a breath, and as I flex, you're going to see actually my stomach go over the belt. And I kind of farted right there, because I was pushing real good. You heard it. That means you're doing it right. So you're going to take in a breath at the bottom. Squeeze. Just like that. Just like that. And that's how you properly use a belt. So I hope you guys enjoyed this quick tip now. How much more strength is this going to give you? That's going to depend on your level of intensity, how long you've been lifting, and just how great your form is on your exercises. But you will see a difference if you start utilizing this method and you really train your core to be really strong. So, if you guys have any more questions, please join us in the forum section of ScottHermanFitness.com. You guys are going to love building your own profiles. It's like the fitness version of the best social media website you've ever seen. Totally free to use. And for more great, I can't even breathe. And for more great tips, exercises, and routines, feel free to join us in ScottHermanFitness.com. And as always, more good stuff coming soon. See you guys. If you're looking for a quick way to switch things up, log into your SHF profile and go to the workout section of the website. Once there, click on the muscles you want to train, then you'll be brought to a page where you can further filter down your search. Now you have a complete list of all the routines that target your chest and utilize only a barbell or dumbbell. From here you can rate the routine, add it to your routines in your profile, and if you scroll down, you can see a write-up of the entire routine as well as photos of all the exercises. You can also download a printable PDF just by clicking on it.